Is on now. Now, I hope you see my screen.
Yes.
Day 15. Day 15. Now, we have seen default parameters, correct?
Yes.
We have seen default parameters. Now we are going to see something called as optional parameters. H1, function type, variables, data type, type annotations, type alias, interface as an object, functions, arrow functions. Okay, here let's create a new page first. Page, objects, and let me move this part, data types, type annotations, spatial types, type alias, and this thing should be here. Okay, now in the variables and the functions, arrow functions, default parameters we have written h1, optional parameters, optional parameters. Now what do you mean by optional parameters or optional properties, whatever in the case of object? Now day 15, let me create readme .md, and here first optional parameters in functions. So here app01.ts. So let me create a function, and here we can say print coordinates. X is of type number, y is of type number. Y is of type what? Number. And here console.log x equals to $x. We have seen this thing, right? String literals. Y is equals to $y. We have seen this or not?
Yes, yes. String interpolation.
Correct, string interpolation. Now I'm calling print coordinates. X is 18, y is 78. cd day. Okay, first you need to come out of this directory. Cd day 15 tsc. Now see, we have stopped this session, yesterday's session over here, tsc, and we have enabled one. We have enabled okay tsc experimental decorators we have enabled, right?
Yes.
So tsc, regarding to that tsconfig.json, I would like to speak now. app01.ts. So before that, can you please tell me what do you mean by ES6?
That is ECMAScript.
Correct? What it does?
ECMAScript 6. It has some syntax and documentation written.
Uh-huh.
So, uh, whatever the new functionality that is coming into JavaScript
Okay.
and what is supported into the browser.
Mm-hmm.
return.
Okay, correct. Now, if you see JS has been generated, but in this case, we can set specific version of the JavaScript while running hyphen hyphen target ES6. Target what? ES6. Now, can you see string literals notation has been there. So if you remove this target, by default, it will convert to the ES5. Can you see? And automatically some other code has been generated. If you enable the target ES6, so this syntax is allowed in a ES6. And that's why it comes as it is.
So ES6 is the latest.
Yeah, ES6 is the latest.
Mm.
ES7 is also latest, but just as a version, I have taken ES6.
ES6. Okay.
So you'll get to know how this TypeScript is getting converted to the specific JavaScript version. That is also possible. Right? Now what I need to do, so presently this type is of number. Just a minute. Now, presently what's happening? So presently what happening? Now see, what I want to do one more thing. So what I want to do, I don't want a type of this number to be any. Presently I'm using any, right? We have seen any type. So I want to avoid this. I want to avoid this. Any shouldn't be there. So there is one more flag while running. You can say no implicit any. No implicit any. Or just a minute. No implicit any. So this is one of the flag, implicit any. No implicit any. Okay, just a minute, I will tell you about this no implicit any. But if you can see TSC app01 TS, so you have enabled target ES6, no implicit any. And yesterday we have used one more thing, experimental decorators true. Can you see how big your command is becoming? Experimental decorators. We have used this yesterday, correct?
Yes.
Can you see your command is getting increased a lot? And out dir means presently your JS files are stored in the same thing. But you can set out dir, output directory, to build. Output directory to what? Build. Now run it. And can you see one build is, just remove this JS. It is earlier has been created. And inside this app01.js is getting created. But look at your command. This is the normal command only. Now let me delete build once again to explain this. See here. This is the normal command only. But you are adding a lot of things over here to the command. Target ES6, no implicit any. You are enabling these flags. Right? So this is a bit weird. Presently you have 4-5 flags. That is working fine. But what if you have something like Angular? If you go to the Angular, tsconfig.json. Can you see at the time of running, it is enabling these many flags. It is enabling these many flags. So are you going to add all of them to the command? No. That's why TypeScript says that if you have something like this, create one special purpose file tsconfig.json. tsconfig.json. It's a normal file tsconfig.json, right? Compiler options, and into the compiler options, these options, target, here you can say target ES6, okay, ES6. Then no or experimental decorators, then what? No implicit any, no implicit any, true, and out dir, and what? Out dir list. Okay, now let's delete this build. Let's delete this build, sorry. And what I need to do, just type tsc app01.ts, app01.ts. Just a minute. Now tsc -p, and here we can say dot tsconfig.json. Can you see here? Dist have been automatically generated. You set the path of the tsconfig.json. Hello?
Yes.
You got it, right? Or another option, there is something called as files. Which files you need to compile? If you don't want to give this p, and into the files you can say app011.ts. It's an array, remember that. So let's delete the dist so that you will get to know it is working, and simply type say ./ in the current directory tsc. Can you see? Whenever these files would be automatically getting compiled, either you can set files from here, you can mention all your files that needs to be run or that needs to be compiled. Automatically this tsconfig.json would be invoked.
Yes. Now I actually understand the meaning of tsconfig.
That is the tsconfig.json. So first we executed by means of what? Command. So there are many things, many flags you need to enable at the time of running. But it's not possible to write 50 flags at the time of running every time. And that you need to put under the compiler options. And what files you need to run. So there are multiple ways to do this thing actually. Angular does it in other way. We are doing it in other way. But meaning of tsconfig is cleared, right?
Yes.
And now see, there is no problem. In the earlier, there was some red underscore to the print chords, right? On the first day, you asked me this question, why I delete the JS file. Scope gets confused. Now there is no underline to this red underline because the generated folder is in the different, sorry, generated files are in a different folder. Correct?
Yes, that red line was due to the same function
Names, correct.
in the JS as well as TS file.
TS, correct.
But the JS file the syntax was different.
Different.
Because we were not using the ES6.
Yes. Is it clear?
Yes.
Okay. So under the readme,
Now can you please show me the JS file?
just a minute.
You created.
tsconfig file. See here.
So okay, it's here. And in the TS1, okay. So whatever the value you send from the function,
Uh-huh.
accordingly X and Y will take the data type.
Correct. Just a minute.
Here number is also not
Number is also what?
you said explicitly like no implicit any. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so for first parameter,
It is
it
any.
is it is not available in the JS, but for the Y is a number kind of data type.
Okay.
So it is a general syntax of JS, right?
This is a normal JS.
Because there are no data types.
There are no data types in the JS.
Fine. But internally it will consider Y as a number.
Correct.
It will ignore only any type. Means, for example, for print calls function, if you send the second parameter as a string, what will
Huh.
happen?
Second parameter as a string here.
Hmm.
See, ABC. There is an error.
Right.
Is it clear or not?
Yes, yes, it is clear. So it is giving me the error in the TypeScript file only. That's why I will not compile that.
Okay. So still we have not seen the optional parameters. So I have covered this yesterday's concept. At the end,
And what is this thing?
optional parameter, right?
No, no. What you explain, it is related to the
tsconfig.json, tsconfig
yes.
file. Now we will see what are the optional parameters. And I will make it as number. But here we have said no implicit any. Spelling is correct, right? Say true. It should throw the error
Why?
because we are using any. Let me see first what is happening. Just a minute. Just a minute.
Yeah.
You also see if you get anything.
Okay.
I'll update you what's happening here. Okay.
Yeah.
Spelling is correct. No implicit in. Okay. Now if I use any or if you remove it, yeah, see here you will get. Can you see? Now it is giving you error. See, to the X it is giving you error. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Now let's delete this thing from here. Now see, error has been removed. Hello?
Yeah, I'm checking.
I have added no implicit any true, and now it is giving you any error.
Mhm.
Now if you write any implicit any,
So, uh, can you please explain again? After adding this, what will happen?
just a minute, huh? Just a minute.
Yeah.
Okay, so if you see here what is happening, if I enable no implicit any false,
Mhm.
and if I remove this type any from here, there is no problem. But if implicit any is true, no implicit any is true, can you see you are getting error now here? Parameter x implicitly has any type. If you don't assign, by default it is any, and that's why it is giving you an error. Can you see that?
Okay.
Because of this. Now while compiling also we can do that. I will update, I'll tell you that thing later on,
Mhm.
how to do that thing. But here you are getting the compilation error. Can you see?
Yes, means it is telling, this flag is telling me that you should not use the any variable of type
No,
any.
no, no, implicit.
Okay, if you mention here any as a type for x, then
It will work. Implicit
oh,
means what?
so means
If you
okay, okay, you
if
do not consider by your own.
that is the implicit. Now if I hover the cursor over here, parameter
Mm-hmm.
x implicitly has any type. If you don't assign,
Mm-hmm.
if you assign, that is okay. See.
Correct. Okay, that is the thing. And if it is false,
False.
and if you remove any, then it will not give me the error.
Correct. I will make it as true. So you need to assign the type. So this is the default parameter 0. If you don't assign anything, it would be considered as 0 0,
Zero.
right?
Right.
This is the default one. Now I can write one more function. Function move point
Mm-hmm.
x is of type number, and y is of again type number. X is of type number, y is of type number. Now what is going to happen over here? I can just add a question mark over here and a question mark over here. So remember that print chords, if you call this, in this case, what would be the values to the x? 0, and y what? 0, right or wrong?
Mm-hmm.
Yes or no?
Yes.
Why? Because default parameters, you have
Yes.
assigned 0 by default.
Yes.
You have assigned 0 by default. But in this case, see now, move point, I have written this thing. So here, let's comment out this, run the project, tsc node dist and what? app01.js. Can you see here? So here, print chords I'm calling, it is giving me x0, y0.
Mm-hmm.
And here I'm calling move point, it is working without parameters. I'm not setting this x and y inside this,
Yes.
right?
Right.
But it is giving me undefined and undefined. But if I write a move point 1020, 1089, and if you see 1089, okay, we didn't compiled it, sorry. TSC, yeah, can you see 1089?
Correct.
So undefined from here and 1089 from here, correct?
Yes.
So what is happening over here? Optional parameters, you pass it or you don't pass it.
Yes.
Optional parameters, you pass it, you don't pass it. Default parameters, if you don't pass it, I will consider 0. If you don't pass it, I will consider 0. Right? If you don't pass it, I will consider undefined. Correct? Optional parameters to the functions. Even in the variables, new file, app02.js, sorry, ts, app02.ts, and here I can say const. We have seen what do you mean by const, right?
Yes, constant.
Correct. We have seen it or not?
Means
We have studied the what do you mean by const? Yes or no?
no, you just declare you earlier examples, but is there any specific explanation for that? In case of means const means the constant value cannot change.
Okay, fine. I think we have not
That I
seen it. I will come back to that point shortly. Where a is equals to, here I can say question mark, number is 10. Just a minute. Where a is equals to is of type number is equals to 10. Just a minute. A is of type number. Now if I so whenever you talk about the optional parameters, what do you mean by optional parameters? Either you have a value or you don't have a value, correct? Now if you want to do that thing over here, please do not try something like this. It will give you an error. This is the syntax error in a TypeScript, right? If you want to do this thing, how do you do that? Union type or undefined. Okay, that's what I wanted to show you. So people start directly writing something like this. If that is possible in, if that is possible in function, it should be possible over here also, right? But that is not the case. If you want to do something like that, it should be undefined. But here if you see, number is a type while undefined is a value, which leads to the new topic. We will see that. But this case, but if you want to write this, something like this. So this says that if you don't pass this number, I will consider it as what? Undefined. For this x is becoming undefined, for this x is becoming 10. Yes or no?
yes, yes.
If you don't pass it, it would be undefined. Okay.
So undefined means what? It is nothing.
Yeah, undefined means it's a value. If you don't assign anything, it would be undefined. See here,
Okay.
you are not assigning anything over here. You
So
are
that variable will store the value undefined.
correct. That variable will store value as undefined. You get it? You
So
got it or
yes,
not?
yes. So in that case, we can say, in that case, that undefined will be the default value.
Correct. Default value to the variable. So here, if you don't pass it, x becomes undefined, y becomes undefined. Right? Optional variable, optional parameters. Now, if you can have a var obj key value pairs, right? We have seen this. We have seen this or not?
Yes.
So, okay, interface glass, and into that color is of type number, or color is of type string, and this can be undefined, and here I can say quality is of type number. Now interface, when you talk about interfaces, remember that interfaces are nothing but a restricted object will have only color and the quality. So here you can say const obj is of type glass is equals to one object, inside that color, inside that quality can be 1. Can you see there is a no error? Because color can be there, color cannot be there. If you write obj1 is of type glass, okay, let's use var. You don't know what do you mean by const. We'll see that obj2 is of type glass, and inside that color red. Can you see? Object optional properties, optional properties and optional parameter types. Do you understand this or not?
Yes. These are similar.
Similar means?
Similar means you can skip here as well,
Uh-huh.
and means like you can add color or you cannot add.
Correct here. Because here it is optional.
Hmm. Right.
So here it's a parameter to the function that can be optional, right? Here a property of the object that can be optional. So when you define the object, like this, you may choose to skip color property.
Right.
Why? Because it is a optional.
Optional.
And how you got it as it's a optional? Question mark.
Yes.
Question mark before colon. So whenever you see question mark before colon, consider it as optional.
Right.
Cleared, right?
Yes.
So here optional parameters in functional, optional properties in objects. Okay. Now there is something called as literal types. There is something called as literal types. App03. Well, in a TS, yeah,
Can you please write into the earlier file, like interfaces using the optional uh, parameters?
where?
Whenever I refer the file,
Here,
the earlier file of the interface, yeah. So in like write a comment so that I get the reference.
interfaces with optional property. Okay, and here method with optional parameter. Okay,
Yes.
now 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 here we can say where direction is of type string. And then we can assign left, right, sorry, string, left, right, left and right. You can do something like this where dir, if where dir colon left or colon right. Now see, if the direction would be having either left and right values, direction would be having only left and right values. So instead of making them it as a string, you can simply say left. So here literals as a types, or here we can say where number is of type number. If this number is only 0 or 1, the number would be ranging from only 0 or 1, correct? Either 0 or 1, either 0 or 1. So in that case you can put more restriction, it would be either 0 or 1. So if you try to assign 100, you'll get the error. Literal types,
Please assign 100.
see,
Okay, and so when you assign ABC above also you get that.
yes, correct. These things are nothing but what? Literal types. So in many cases you have some variables, and this is applicable to the functions also, object properties also, right? So if you can do with the variables, this can be done with the method parameters also. So if you do see something like this function, say turn on and you can say nm is of type number, and here I can say turn on 1 or 0. So here you can say 1 or 0. So do not get fascinated by looking at this code. So this concept is called as literal types.
Is this or?
Or, so this is a union symbol. Union types we already have seen, right?
Yes.
Union types, if you see variables, and here we have seen union types, number or string.
Yes. Similarly, we can apply this for the
Values as well, but these are called as literal types. The technical term for these things is a literal type.
Mhm.
Is that clear?
Yes. Union types value we use this. This is what we call this symbol pipe or
Pipe you can call it as.
pipe.
Yeah.
So whenever we use with the data types, we can say union types.
Even with the literals also, it's a union types.
Means
Means the value of num can either be, can here if you can see, string or number.
right. This is
Union type.
union type.
This is also union type. But in this case, value either 0 or 1. But here value can be whole string or number, any number.
Right. But for the assigning value, we called it as a literal.
The concept is called as literal types in the TypeScript. Is this clear?
Yes, yes.
Literal types. So on the next lecture, actually, we will complete the documentation first. Okay?
Yes.
And then we will see next concepts.
Can you just show me the file, last file?
Yeah, just a minute. Let me push. TypeScript, literal types.
Here, for turn on, if you specify something value other than turn on 0, it will again show you there. Same
Yes,
error.
absolutely. So if you pass 60, see there is an error. Only 0 or 1 is possible. Clear?
Yes.
Any questions? I have pushed the code as well. If you want to go through the complete things, you can go through it and ask me the questions. That is also okay.
In this class, I
Hmm.
am working, doing office work. Immediately after that, I switched.
No problem. We can conclude for the day.
Thank you.
Say that again. Any questions?
No questions.
Okay, fine. So I am stopping the recording now. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.